Namaste. Welcome to our third Soham talk based on the writings, or not the writings, the recorded conversations and some writings of Gajanana Maharaj of Nashik, the great Nat yogi. One can accomplish anything by meditating upon Soham. Now, obviously, he means anything spiritually. Obviously, you couldn't win a political election through meditating on Soham. It'd be pretty foolish to figure that you could get financial gain through meditating on Soham because Soham meditation has one goal alone, and that is the self realization of the Soham yogi. I, there are fake gurus, and they tell their fake disciples that if they practice their fake yoga, they'll be able to get anything they want. Okay, fine. It's a lie, but I'm not interested in arguing against it. This, I can tell you that through Soham sadhana, you can't do everything you want and get everything you want and be everything you want because you're no doubt deluded. You need to get rid of delusion, and you do that through meditation and japa of the Soham mantra. The mental intonation of So when the breath comes in naturally, spontaneously, and the mental intonation of Hum when it goes out. When I say intone, I mean intone like this: So Hum, not So Hum, but So Hum. That's what I'm talking about. So that has one goal only. However, it can help and does develop the qualities needed in the individual to engage ideally in sadhana and attain realization. And so when he says one can accomplish anything by meditating on Soham, he means that. So are we qualified or not? It doesn't matter. If we do Soham sadhana, japa, and meditation, all in time with the breath, of course, then we will naturally develop those qualities, or the way to develop those qualities will be revealed to us, and then, according to our will and choice, we'll do the needful and gain those qualities. Disgust for sexual pleasures, the ending of all karma, not negative karma or most karma, the ending of all karma. Remember, Gajanana Maharaj was saying this to just maybe one person or two people. He wasn't sitting in a hall with 400 people there that had come because posters had been put up all around town that the great guru Gajanana is coming to town, to enlighten everybody. No, he was in his very humble room. He didn't even have a house he lived in. Someone let him live in a back room of a very, not just modest house, a bit shacky house. You went in through the front door and went down the corridor all the way to the back, and you went in and you found a room that had no pictures of deities, no religious objects whatsoever, but some photos of master yogis. That you did find. And sitting there, a living master yogi, Sri Gajanana Maharaj. And only one or two people were ever with him at a time. So he's talking, you see, he was talking only to qualified people. Only qualified people could even find him. And sometimes he appeared to people and spoke with them, and then they realized, I've got to find him somehow. And they'd make inquiry, well, is there such and such a yogi, and would hope we find him. One time he actually appeared to someone and said, I want you to come to my house. And so in the dream, they went there to the house. And when the man woke up, he remembered exactly the route and he followed it. And sure enough, there was Gajanana Maharaj waiting for him. But this was rare. And as I think I've said before, in all the decades that he was teaching or willing to teach people, uh, not even 40 people ever became his disciples. This is the way of the not yogis. All right, go on. Release, all right, let's start at the back up. Like when you're in a snowdrift and you didn't quite make it, you back up, let's back up. One can accomplish anything by meditating upon Soham. Of course, it means spiritually. Disgust for sexual pleasures. Why? Because you find the delight that is in the self. And you also have affinity for what is higher, the higher part of your own being, and therefore the thing that you pee through no longer seems a very wonderful and powerful and attracting part of your life. You see, the sexual act is essentially disgusting because it involves the genitals. And the Matrikas, the creator mothers, knew what they were doing when they set this all up for you. You understand? It says, in the beginning, God made the heavens and earth and this and that and that. Well, here's the straight truth. In the beginning, then, when there were to be human beings who could attain self-realization on the earth, these divine beings, some say they're 24 in number, and they were creator mothers. Now, even in the book of Genesis, it says, and God said, let us, plural, make man in our own image. Now, the word says, God said, you see, in the Old Testament, God said, let us. The word is Elohim, which is a name for divinity, but it is plural. It's not God, it's gods. And it isn't really just gods, it's goddesses, because Elohim is a feminine word. So, right in the dear old Bible that people like to believe literally, the creation of humanity was done by creator mothers. And since Hinduism knows the score all across the board, we call them Matrikas. So the Matrikas did that. It's kind of a joke. There was a very marvelous comedian named Bill Dana. And I once saw a filmed routine he did where he was Adam, but talking to God on the telephone and trying to figure out, well, what's going on with this Garden of Eden and so on, because apparently God had put him there, giving some instructions and gone away. So he's making a telephone call to God. And he says, God, you said to me, be fruitful and multiply. Well, how do you do that? And then he laughs and says, no, God, I'm serious. I really mean it. How do I do it? And the way to do it, well. So, uh, a person comes to realize up here is where paradise is, so hell must be what's down there. Oh my. The beauty of the sexual act. Oh, yes, indeed. Uh, if someone was to say, a man says to some woman, I love you. I love you so much I want to, and then describe the real anatomical process. You can get an idea of how idiotic infatuation with this is. All right. The ending of all karma, because karma arises from actions done in relative consciousness, and Soham brings us into the higher consciousness beyond relativity. And then, because karma is in our mind, Buddha was very adamant about it. Unfortunately, the usual teachers in classical Hinduism don't present it that clearly. I have no idea why. But Buddha taught very clearly that karma is in your mind. Yes, there's a destiny, blah, blah, blah. But you understand, you are in charge. And although it's subliminal and it's not in your conscious mind, your whole life is led by you, is controlled by you. But you don't know your true self, so you think, oh, I'm a helpless victim of fate. Or, well, God's just bouncing me around like a ball. God, His will be done. Pure bunkum, pure superstition. You and I are in charge. Therefore, and our inner consciousness wants negative things, foolish things, and in a perverse way, often suffering. So, when we change our consciousness, when we purify our consciousness and elevate our consciousness, then karmas become purified and ultimately they're dissolved. That's how you change your karma. You can't do it through intense alternate nostril breathing and pranayamas and generating of heat and so on, because it's not material. What kind of nonsense is this? But the fake gurus with their fake yoga tell this. And there are sincere disciples, but a lot of them are fake, and therefore they're always very loyal because they know I'll keep away from God and pretend to be searching for God. All right. Release from the cycle of birth and death. Obviously, if the karma's gone, where's there going to be any need for birth and death? The realization of the self. That's the step. In short, everything can be obtained through Soham. Soham can teach you a great deal. It's not for me to teach you, but it will teach you a lot of things about the living of your life if you plan to really attain something. And you can't fool Soham. You can't fool Mother Nature. You can't fool Soham. This is the real dhyana yoga. Dhyana is meditation, or Raja yoga. Raja yoga isn't a bunch of and so on. Nor is meditation sort of, oh, I am expanding beyond the bounds of this room. My consciousness goes to infinity. I mean, give it up. Those play around fantasies are for spiritual children. This is the real thing. Soham does it. So, this is the real Raja Yoga, the royal path to realization of the divine self. The reason, okay, next statement. The reason why Shabda, Vak or word, see, Vak means both word and the faculty of speech, and Vakya, speaking. But sound is the basis of everything. Literally, you see, the field of energies is in just a potential state. So the energies are always just at rest, as water is at rest and reflecting everything around it clearly. When everything is calm, there's no wind or anything. But Shabda is movement. So it's the moving, the agitation of the mind and of the substance of the universe, and then waves develop, as in even on a lake or an ocean, vrittis they're called, and also this occurs in the mind, and then these are the thoughts, etc. So the source of everything is Brahman. Therefore, this Shabda, this Vak, is Brahman. What is that Shabda? Ultimately, Soham. Or get way back to the root, it's Soham. This is why in the beginning, as the Upanishad says, as I've said over and over again, the Param Purusha first said, Soham Asmi. Soham, I am that, Asmi, I am. I am that I am. What God said to Moses when he said, what is your name? So just think, it's in the Bible. So, okay, sorry. So then, it's the means leading to Brahman, and hence it is desirable to look upon Shabda as Brahman because it is. It's desirable to really know the nature of something. It is a sort of sentiment or feeling. In other words, there's a knowing which didn't come from a lot of thought and a lot of logic and a lot of pondering. It's a bhava, you see, that arises as you're practicing. That's why, as I said, it was so amazing to me. I mean, I had piddled away 50 years with yoga. Oh, and the things worked, the methods worked. They produce Shakti, sometimes they produce euphoria. Oh, there was one type that after I did it, I felt like literally there was nothing else in the world for me to gain. I had this feeling of just being sort of ethereal. And in 10 minutes, it was gone. Why? Because it was a lie. It was an illusion. It was fakery. It was no better than taking a hallucinogenic drug. And a hallucination isn't real. But this knowing comes up in you. Carry on the repetition of Soham. And of course, he also means you meditate too. But it's all Soham in time with the breath. It will be sufficient for you. So there you are. As far as sadhana goes and self-realization, but you've got a whole other part of your mind. Therefore, read holy scriptures, read the lives of great yogis, read the things that call you to higher consciousness. This is good too. There's some fake yogis that they act like, oh, don't read books. No, you don't read books that can't be found in books. Well, of course it can't be found in books. But that's no reason to be a blankhead, to be a dummy and know nothing and be completely ignorant. Spiritual study is absolutely relevant. Anandamay Ma said so and recommended it. But it's worthy spiritual study. So you study the real scriptures, the Shastras, the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, the Yoga Sutras, the Brahma Sutras, and the commentaries of great masters on these things. And then you will find it. Those two books, Sanatana Dharma and Hinduism, the Universal Religion, which we have put out or reprinted, though they were written in India and published there, they are really good to read over and over again. I'm just in, or just finished, I think, my sixth reading of Sanatana Dharma, the Eternal Religion. So now I'm going to be working on Hinduism, the universal religion, which is much more detailed and extremely valuable. So that's an important thing. All right. When the power of breath gets an upward turn, it says breath here, it means prana. Prana is the power that creates the breath, but it circulates all through the body and keeps us alive. It is basically the life of the body, but it's all life of everything. In this PEM, there is prana. That's how it's able to exist. And some of the pranas are holding this together in this shape because ultimately this is really an idea in the divine mind reflecting then in our smaller mind. So when the power breath gets an upward turn, because, which means also an inward turn, because we're constantly being pulled out, out, out. We're seeing that, we're feeling that, we're tasting that. But we need to get in because in at the core, that's where our reality is to be found. So when the power breath gets an upward turn, the breath proceeds upwards through the shushumna, and no, you won't suddenly quake and, oh, the kundalini is awakened. This is all mythology. Kundalini exists, but this is a thing. You see, fake gurus have taught people how to mess up their subtle bodies and put a totally aberrative state in their pranas. And so and the body hops around. Yes, it actually does. And maybe even goes up in the air. Well, what does that do for you? It isn't the body that realizes the absolute, it's your pure consciousness. But anyway, so there is this, so chills and thrills. And I mean, I like a good ride on a tilt-a-whirl and a Ferris wheel and those fun things that spin you around, but you don't come out any wiser than you were before. So then, it goes through the real shushumna. Isn't the shushumna in the spine? Yes, and you have hundreds of thousands of subtle passages, nadis. They often translate it nerves because the physical energy goes through the nerves. So you can think of them as psychic nerves. And you see, there is the Ida, the pingala, and the sushumna. The Ida is the positive charged, the positive charge major nerve on the right side. The uh, did I say it's the Ida? It is. The pingala's on the left side. Forgive me, I know I ought to be more serious about this, but well, what do you do when you're old and you're human? And the sushumna goes up the middle. That's more a passage in a nerve. But you and I are the nadis throughout our body. There are three kinds: the Ida nadis, the pingala nadis, and the sushumna nadis. When the Ida is activated, then those Ida nadis, they function. When the pingala is, then the pingala nadis function. And when the sushumna is, the sushumna nadis do. And they are what leads even the whole body up into higher consciousness, into a real transformation. The body can become immortal. And they all work together. But of course, the sushumna is where the other two kinds ultimately will go in, and they'll go up and they will go to the sahasra, the brahmarandra. The brahmarandra here. This is a gateway to the infinite. The Soham consciousness then merges in the unknowable supreme self, and the sadhaka attains perfection. In other words, you see, this is where, if there's, in a sense, the Atma is everywhere, but pervading your body, pervading your auras, but its core is up here in the astral brain, and its light is shining there, and it's always there. And when you do Soham sadhana, you don't concentrate on the chakras. They don't concentrate like on trying to get here. Though, as I've said in Soham Yoga, if you feel a little out of sorts and kind of, like you're not quite in focus spiritually, you very gently, it's very important to say gently. You must never tense. You gently become aware of the brain area and feel that your intonations of Soham and time with the breath is going on there or is vibrating there, sounding there, and just for a few breaths, and it will put you back into focus. But it's not a constant practice, and should not be. Fools, of course, having heard this, will start doing it and then claiming that they saw rays go out of their brain. But what can you do? As a remarkable yogi I knew and asked, should you teach crazy people meditation? Said, no, because they'll meditate in a crazy way. But what can you do? This is being posted on the World Wide Web. So, of course, I'm very well, this will happen. But when it's done right, the Soham consciousness merges in the Supreme Self, and Siddhi, perfection, is attained. And so, on that, as I said, I hope our sessions will be about 25 minutes. Well, it's 27 now. So for me, if you've been following any of my previous talks, it's really pretty good. Therefore, namaste, salutations, until the next time when we will go further with Sri Gajanana Maharaj. Om Tat Sat.